Hello and welcome to Give Me Some Good News, the most delightful destination marketing podcast in the space. Sorry, Adam and Stuart. As always, I am your host, Caleb Sullivan, here with my wonderful co-host, Mr. Tyler Ford. Tyler, how the heck are you doing, sir?
Caleb, I'm doing great. Delightful. Let's think here. So, if we're the most delightful podcast, would we be the most delightful podcasters as well?
That's for the audience to decide.
Okay.
Honestly, I think we could throw a poll. Throw your comments in on Spotify if you're interested. But we are not here to jockey for position in our limited space. We are here to introduce an amazing guest, Mr. Mason Moore. Mason, welcome to the podcast. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell folks what you do?
Guys, thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it. But yeah, my name is Mason Moore. I am a what I like to call an old fart in the marketing communications game, having done this for 27 years now. I've been very fortunate to have a really diverse career in marketing communications, really from two fronts. First and foremost, I've spent almost equal time working in both agency and corporate settings. And that may not be all that unique in of it itself, but what really makes it unique is that I have held a variety of either integrated marketing and communications leadership positions as well as channel or discipline specific positions. So I've led multiple integrated Marcom functions. I've also led a public relations team. I've led a social media team. And just 2 gigs ago, I led a brand and creative team. So I've worked across virtually every channel in marketing communications and really can't take any credit for it. It wasn't a strategic plan. It's just kind of the way the wind's blown me.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I'm really excited to have you on our podcast because although we are focused on hospitality, travel, and tourism, one of the things I've learned through my career is we have a lot to learn from outside perspectives and from people with different career paths than just the, hey, I started at a DMO out of college and I, did this and now I, may work for a vendor or not. But one of the things that captivates me about you, and I can say this as the leader of our team as the go-to-market team. So your current role is the SVP for our team, and you are the leader, the helm of the go-to-market, is really just kind of how you lead. You've really built this career, old fart or not, however you say it. You've built this career capital. You've really leveraged different leadership styles that have been effective, and you're leading a small team of highly functioning folks to contribute to Paradise's growth. So I really just kind of wanted to unpack more about like more pun intended. Who is Mason Moore? How did you get to this point? And what drives you? And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Kind of going on that, being a leader in this space, you've seen a lot, you've done a lot. What is one of the hardest lessons of leadership that you've learned along the way?
I don't know necessarily if I have a hard one to share, but I definitely have a profound one, if that's all right. So
Absolutely.
very early in my career, I was fortunate to have somewhat of a mentor. It was my very first job in marketing and communications 27 years ago. And he said something to me, probably just in passing, but that had stuck with me for 27 years. And he explained to me that a key role of any leader is to create future leaders. And that is a mantra that has stuck with me, that it's been a key pillar of my leadership style since then. So one of the things that I get the biggest kick out of in working with teams and working with people is giving professionals the resources, the opportunities, the platform to become better professionals. And through that process, some will, clearly identify themselves as leaders and some won't, and that's okay. Some people don't want to be leaders, but if you focus on people's professional development, focus on letting them become better at their craft, the great work is going to happen almost organically. And so that's really been a pillar of my leadership style since the moment I heard that from that person. And my focus in doing that is that I prefer to motivate through inspiration, not intimidation or fear. And so those have been really the key pillars of my leadership style since entering into this business, and then it's just carried with me everywhere I've been.
It's awesome.
Do you have an example of a future leader that or someone who you kind of mentored, and you can even give a shout out here on the pod, who's now become a leader just from this type of leadership style?
Well, I can tell you, I won't call anyone out specifically, but I will actually. But what I'm most proud of in my career is that it feels like there's kind of a Mason Moore school of folks that are floating around out there, many of which who have eclipsed me in their careers. They crossed paths with me at some point early in their career, and hopefully I was able to impart some wisdom on them that they then carried on to other roles. So I love the fact that there are multiple people out there that could potentially be my boss one day that worked for
Yeah.
me at some point. And that really is my philosophy. But I will say this in calling someone out, the person that we have on the call today, Mr. Caleb Sullivan, is a future leader in our industry. And so I hope that I will have some role in helping that equation come to fruition someday.
You're making me blush, Mason, and I will definitely entertain that thought and say that I have greatly appreciated the mentorship and the guidance, aside from just being my direct boss, but also through lessons we've learned along the way through navigating our environment here at Paradise and really
Mm-hmm.
just making sure our team is a well-oiled machine to serve the agency. So that means a lot coming from you, and I appreciate it. One really cool thing about you that Tyler and I both, I know for a fact, admire is fitness. And I know that this is kind of a
Yeah.
sidestep, but how has fitness kind of shaped the way you lead? Like is there a relationship there? Am I just talking crazy here?
No, there's a definite connection between the two. And what I'll say about health, wellness, fitness, however you want to categorize it, is that there are so many variations in it. So every person has a different body type. People will have different goals. You may these three things, and that will mean health for you, right? It's very custom. And I believe leadership is the same way.
Mm,
That you have to be nimble, you have to be agile, and you have to be able to adapt based on the situation and or based on the person. And so I am not a person who subscribes to a specific leadership playbook. I try to read the room. I try to approach the situation like I would approach a client that I'm developing a marketing strategy for. I'm not just pulling something off the shelf and dusting it off. I'm actually reading the situation, reading the person and how they respond to certain types of stimulus, and basing my leadership approach and style off of that. So, as you may be changing your routine for your fitness journey that you're on right now, you'll likely have to change your leadership style or philosophy based on any situation that you might find yourself in.
I love this, and I kind of want to just park it here for a little bit. First, I love the tailored approach to clients. It's very similar to being a personal trainer. And Mason, I'm not sure how much, if any experience, but if you have any experience in the just training people, whether professionally or just like, I don't know, as a side quest. But a little known fact about me is I was a sports psychology major in college, and then a personal trainer throughout college too. So like this topic is super big for me. So I just wanted to hear a little more about like performance. And to me, that seems like one of the big connectors between leaders and strong leadership and athletes and just people who just care about achieving something is they're so performance driven. I just want to get your takes on this, perhaps just how fitness and fitness performance has helped you just in this kind of hyper focus mode of performance in the real world, the business world.
Absolutely. No, again, very, very strong connection. I'll give you an example. You asked me if I had any experience with personal training. I'll give you some experience that's very close to me. I'm not a professional personal trainer by any means. I've never taken $1 for any training services whatsoever. But about 3 years ago, my teenage daughter got interested in working out. She was an athlete. She was participating in a variety of sports and wanted to start working out. And so she wanted to start coming to the gym with me. And I had to think, okay, what is the leadership style that I know that she's going to respond to with this?
Nice.
And then also what's going to be the best approach for long-term outcome. Caleb hears me say this all the time, but it's about staying focused on the outcomes. And so the approach that I took with my daughter was very early on, I gave her advice. I gave her some information about body parts and training splits and things like that. And then I somewhat stepped away because my daughter's very curious. She's very inquisitive. And so I did not want to be the overbearing dad that was there saying, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that, especially training not like me, like a 50 plus year old lunk. I want her to train a lot smarter than I do, quite honestly. And so kind of let her figure it out on her own. And then when I saw something that maybe she was doing wrong or maybe she could do better, I would interject myself. But the outcome of that has been that she has discovered a love for fitness, and she's left dad in the dust. She goes to the gym on her own now. So I run into her at the gym sometimes, and maybe the first time I've seen her that day. My daughter's 18 years old now and about to graduate high school. So she has developed this lifelong passion for fitness now that will carry her on through the rest of her life. And it was through the approach that I took that I think she was able to establish that.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you knew when to just take your hands off and allow her to just create this own love to where she's not doing this because you said so or anything. Like you, once again, going back to leadership, just knowing when and for who to kind of pause and let them go ahead and find this and lead themselves, and knowing that will be much bigger than if you continue to like make her plans or whatever. So that's really cool.
I've applied a very similar approach to leadership. I've had several folks that have worked with me where I've done something very similar, albeit custom to them, but at the same time, giving them the opportunity to learn, to develop the passion, to feel what it feels like to fail or have a misstep, to give them those opportunities so that they can, for the long term, because that's what I'm focused on. I'm focused on the outcome. I'm focusing on their outcome of being a better professional. What's going to set them up to achieve that?
Yeah. And honestly, it's about outcomes, not hours. I know you and I talk about that a lot, right? Like we're working with our heads. We don't want to necessarily always be working with our hands. How can we move the needle by looking at a situation and optimizing for efficiency? And it's similar in working out, right? Like you have an hour to get in the gym, hour and a half if you're lucky. What is the best use of this hour to really, move my body the best? And so there are a lot of parallels that I've seen, and I think this confirms that. Like whatever fitness and wellness means to you, having that integrated into your life actually does lead to better performance at work. I was on a podcast called the Fit Healthy Happy podcast, and the whole theme was like wellness and work. Like how does this, these activities I'm doing in the morning tee up my day for something better? And I totally agree. I think that goes into leadership, that goes into energy that you have. It goes into even family interactions and optimizing those. And we're going to get a little deeper if that's okay with you. I've got an understanding through our conversations about some of your health challenges that you've had, but you are a cancer survivor, and I just kind of wanted to ask, like, give us a little bit of history there, and then talk about how that's kind of changed your view on life. And I know you and I have talked about this behind closed doors, but to what level you're comfortable sharing with the audience.
No, very comfortable in sharing that story. It's something that I talk publicly about quite a bit. As a side gig, I'm a men's health advocate, and so I talk about frequently about the importance of men taking ownership of their health. My situation, I'm a 3-time cancer survivor. Initially in 2003, I was diagnosed with testicular cancer 2 weeks before my wedding. So timing wasn't all that great, but went through the typical protocol for an early stage TC diagnosis, which was surgery followed by a pretty tough regimen of chemotherapy. The great news about testicular cancer is that when it's found early, it's very curable. And so I went through the process over the next 5 years of getting all the CT scans and the blood works, and everything came back fine. And I was able to say that I was cancer free at that point. Where my situation got really unique and somewhat odd is that 15 years later, which is almost unheard of, I had a recurrence, and it showed back up in my lung. And so at that point, had a surgery to remove the middle lobe of my right lung, and went under surveillance. Unfortunately, about 8 months later, had yet another recurrence, and went into an even more tough regimen of chemotherapy at that point, followed by another surgery on my lung. So it's been quite the journey, and it has changed my perspective both in life in general as well as my career. One thing I'll say about that is that it obviously gives you a much different perspective. Even in business, we can get caught up in the daily rigors of our work and get really stressed out on the things that we're doing. And whether it's in my time now in travel and tourism or in my previous career in the fintech space, which was post cancer diagnosis, I would remind myself, hey man, we're not curing cancer here. Let's not get so worked up about this. We are helping people. And in our case, we're helping people create memories through travel and tourism. In my previous gig, I was helping people live a more intelligent financial life. So, it gives you a perspective being able to put things in the right place. And that obviously happens personally in life as well. The other thing that was just really eye-opening for me is that over the course of that journey, the body is just an amazing machine. It can grow, it can adapt, it can heal, it can regenerate. You from a physical standpoint, you have the ability to reinvent yourself. And so I thought about that from a career standpoint. It's like, okay, I have worked so hard to not let what's happened to me physically define me. So I should apply the same process to thinking about my career. We've all had missteps. We've all had situations where maybe we didn't deliver the outcome that we wanted. Don't let that define you. And so that same dogged determination that I've put into working on my body and coming back from cancer 3 times, I now put into my career, but with the proper perspective. One misstep won't define you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that perspective of just not allowing your missteps to define you. I think that's really cool. I think it's really awesome. Congratulations. It's a really great story.
Thank you.
Coming back from that. And
I think one thing too, if you don't mind me expanding a little bit, which is a really important topic for me, I think that applies across both. And it's the concept of trust. I have a longtime colleague and friend here in the Orlando area named Roy Reed, who's written an incredible book and developed an executive training program around the power and role that trust plays in leadership. And that concept of trust applies for me in both realms, both, in my physical fitness journey, my health journey, as well as professional career. Having trust in myself in both aspects, starting there has been really, really key in my development and evolution as a professional. When you think about it from a leadership standpoint, you really can't lead unless you have that trust. And trust is something that is earned every day, both through intentional and unintentional actions. And so over time, you build up a bank of positive trust equity. And so when times are tough, if you reach a difficult decision, a difficult situation that you have to navigate, if you've built up that bank of trust with the folks that you're working with, it's going to be a lot easier to navigate. And so I'm a firm believer in, it's another one of my leadership philosophies, is really focusing on developing trust and treating trust as a 2-lane highway and not a 1-way street.
Yep, absolutely. No, that's great perspective. I mean, at the end of the day, I talk a lot about even personal branding, brand equity and stuff like that. But the trust you build, it goes beyond just the people you work with. It goes on beyond to the clients that you work with in service. It goes even to your family, right? What is the kind of man I want to be? How can I make sure that my family trusts the decisions I make? It really is important. And I think what happens a lot of times is whenever people are new in their career, I think a lot of times they're racing to the top. Some of them don't necessarily know why. Some of them don't necessarily know how. They just have this yearning to get to the top. And if you step on heads to get there, you're going to burn through that trust equity like that. So I love this idea of build the trust, make sure that you're paying attention to things that are important to you and things that are truly going to move the needle. Because again, if you have that trust and transparency with your team, they will go to war for you. I mean, that is the bottom line, right? If you have a team that trusts you, they will get the job done. Mason, I've really grown to enjoy working with you since day one. I remember when I called you, I was getting on a plane to go to a conference for another company I was working with. And we got off that phone call, and I think I called Tyler afterward. I'm like, dude, we're gonna get some cool stuff done here. So just want to echo that sentiment and let you know that it's been a great ride so far, and I'm looking forward to what's to come. Kind of rounding things out here, you went through what I would say is one of the toughest things a person can go through. We all have ups and downs in life. What is one piece of advice that you could give to someone going through either something similar or just a difficult season in life to kind of help them see the good news or the good side of it?
Yeah, there's several things that I would focus on. First and foremost, rally around your support system. Whoever or whatever that you have around you that can support you, really lean on them. And when I say rally around them or lean on them, That means never be afraid to ask or accept help. Especially my generation where we were almost taught to not ask for help, not seek, medical attention, things like that. I had to get over that as part of my process. I had to get over that vanity, that fear almost of being afraid to ask for help or be willing to accept help. And so I think rallying around your support system and let them support you is very key. On the flip side, when someone's going through something tough like that, and you're going through, say, a cancer diagnosis or anything, even similar, don't be afraid to be a little selfish. I found myself in the first go round to be still trying to please everyone else and not focusing on myself enough. And I was in a fight of my life, and so I really needed to be focused on that and that, not worrying about what other people were necessarily going through as it related to my journey. That sounds selfish, and sometimes it pains me to say it that way, but you really have to focus on getting better so that you can be a great person for those people when you get back. And then one thing I always tell people when they're going through anything tough is stay motivated to fight by focusing on what means the most to you. My first go around with cancer, my wife and I obviously were just getting married, getting started off in life, but my second and third go round, I had a daughter and had a long relationship with the wife. And there were points in time where I was in inpatient chemo, where I really truly didn't feel like going on. But the thought of leaving my daughter, leaving my wife, and the life that we'd created was really my driving force. And so whatever that is, whether it's wife, child, hobby, whatever means the most to you, focus on that and have that be your goal to be able to get back to that as quickly as possible.
Yeah, finding your why.
It's like you could go down so many paths on this, but
yeah,
I really wanted to. I'm kind of proud of my leadership approach that I've taken over the years, and I will tell you this: there has been worthwhile risk in my approach to leadership, and what I say by that is I probably haven't ascended as high as I can because, to a point of what Caleb was saying earlier, I'm not willing to step on people and make their experience with me be bad to go higher. That means more to me than the next position up on the ladder. We all have our individual situations, but I can pay the mortgage every month. I can put food on the table. And that's really what's most important to me. And so to get an additional, $30,000 or $40,000 and having to ruin relationships to get it is just not important to me.
Oh, that's so key, man.
Yeah, I love that. I totally agree with that.
Yeah,
definitely. And I feel like in the long run, if you have the end game or the 10-year mindset rather than like what's right in front of me, it really never pays or rarely pays to be stepping on people to get ahead. For the short-sighted what's next year versus like 10 years from now. So,
there will be a point in your career, whether it's that specific person or someone like that person, where you're going to need them.
Yep.
And that is lesson learned for me over time. And so, and I'm a firm believer in leading by example. Hopefully, Caleb, you see that every day in the work that we do together too. But it's like, I came up from the bottom. I know there's a Drake song about that, but I literally started off as an account executive with a small advertising agency. I was a marketing assistant for a national bank and have worked up to where I've become today. And so I can appreciate what someone who's new in their career is going through, some of the challenges that they face. So that's why I like to focus on that, because if they can have an easier time than I did, I'm done.
Yeah. And the thing I love about this, and the reason I wanted to have you on this podcast, Mason, is because perspective. People need real life experience and real hardships to understand perspective, even if it's just, hey, that maybe they hear this podcast and they're like, maybe I should be a little nicer, or like, maybe I should not be so upset. Like that to me is something that is really hard for young people in the industry to understand. It's like full life perspective. I've had and my background, like my background's weird as hell. Like I've got teenagers now, it's like my background makes no sense. And so I've had a different perspective, but perspective is something I think that has to be learned. And this is a good safe spot for people to learn that,
it's another thing. And this could be an entirely other episode, but there's something really important in life and also in career, and that's awareness.
Yeah.
And I reached a point in my 30s where I became very aware of what my strengths and weaknesses were professionally. I
Yeah.
became very aware of the types of things I liked to do and I didn't like to do. And so I've let that kind of drive me from a career standpoint. Unfortunately, I think I became self-aware personally a little bit after that.
Yeah.
It may have even taken, my cancer diagnosis, the second one at age 45, to have that level of awareness catch up. But I think I've gotten there too. I know what my strengths and weaknesses are now personally as well. And so it's been somewhat of an awakening for me, just really over the last couple of years, really, with that level of awareness. And I think every professional, taking this back to the professional setting, there will be a time where you have that aha moment, or where the light switch clicks on, where you earn that awareness, you gain that awareness, and then can say, take a deep breath and say, okay, this is where I feel I can be the most impactful.
Yeah.
And it becomes less and less about the ladder at that point.
Yes.
What are some ways that somebody could just gain a better self-awareness? Like, it's something that's, I feel like, really hard to just create. Like,
yeah,
just
I think
any recommendations there?
Yeah, it number one, it starts with being able to take a look at yourself. And kind of, it's the old cliche, but take a look in the mirror at yourself, and be honest. There were some things that I wasn't willing to admit that I was bad at, that somebody was like, Mason, you suck at that. It's not your strong point, or there were some character flaws it's like, okay, Mason, this is the third or fourth time where that behavior has put you in a position that you're not comfortable with, or that you don't like. It's not that these situations are random anomalies. It's your behavior that's doing it. Yeah. And so just being able to be honest with yourself, and with awareness comes acceptance. And so if you probably can't tell, I'm in therapy. And so these are things that, come from therapy.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, my journeys through cancer, all three, I was fortunate to be treated by amazing, physicians and clinicians and nurses, and their goal was to treat me for cure, focused on physical health. Nowhere in that journey, as a 23-year cancer survivor now, had anyone ever spoken to me about the mental health side of it. And so there was a point in time about 2 years ago where I was like, I'm just in a weird spot. I've got this funk going on, kind of had lost my path a little bit. And so, again, awareness. Yep. I was like, okay, Mason, this isn't normal. Acceptance. And then the last thing is, the last A, you have awareness, you have acceptance, and then action. And I took action to go get help. And that goes back to the idea of not being afraid to ask for or seek help. And it's been a game changer for me, for sure. But yeah, it's a journey, and I am trying to learn every day throughout that journey, and understand that I am not the smartest person in the world when it comes to my personal life, and I don't need to be on a quest to prove I'm the smartest person in the room when it comes to my professional life.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I'll echo that too. And Tyler knows this. I mean, I've been on a similar journey. I've been foot to the floor since I was 18, because I had to raise these two kids. And I posted about it on LinkedIn because I wanted to share a little bit of transparency. Like, look, I figured out who I was as a professional before I figured out who I was as a person. And now I'm backtracking, which is so weird. And Tyler, fortunately, you were talking about your support system. For me, Tyler's been a big part of my support system. I talk to him like 2 or 3 times a day on the phone. We literally talk about everything from the kids keeping us up at night to, what's most important to us in life. And I've also had to go through therapy for a stint, and it's that awareness piece, just admitting that you don't know everything, whatever, like that ego that we carry through life's lessons. At a certain lesson, Lord willing, it falls off a little bit, and you're able to just admit, like, I don't know everything. And again, like, we're good at some things and we're bad at other things, but we have to know what those things are to get better at them, or to leverage the ones we're really good at. So
the other thing that, and this is something that I've done podcasts about in the past or done speeches about in the past, but the connection between mental and physical health is very real. They impact one another.
Yes.
Unfortunately, as a healthcare system, and this is when I can kind of get on my soapbox and some of my speeches that I give is like, especially the American health system does not view it that way.
Correct.
Doesn't treat it that way. And so that's why I went through this 23-year journey with a piece of it missing.
Yep.
And so it takes that level of awareness to say, okay, I've got the physical part down. I'm going to the gym 6 days a week. I feel and look great, but something's still wrong in my head.
Yes.
And being able to then have the awareness to go and address that. And it's funny when I talk about men needing to take ownership of their health, especially my generation, Gen X, we were the latchkey kids that were left outside to drink from the water hose, and we let ourselves in after school every day. There was this kind of like stigma with guys. It was like, hey, just get up, rub some dirt on it.
Yep.
If it ain't broke, if it ain't bleeding, you're fine. And that's killed a lot of guys. That mentality. My situation in particular, I mentioned testicular cancer being highly curable if it's caught early. If it's not caught early, it's a problem.
Right.
And so
Yep.
Knowing when something's wrong. And I've had two situations within my cancer journey where I've had to grab the bull by the horns and take ownership of the situation. And in both instances, I think it's not saved my life. It has made my journey better. So, it's just, we're not taught that as guys, especially my generation wasn't, where the girls are taught about self-examination for their breasts and all these other things. And home ec class, we weren't. We were thrown in shop class and said, here's a piece of wood, cut it up.
Yep.
Yep. Type of stuff. And so, and so trying to destigmatize taking care of yourself, which sounds stupid, right?
Yeah. And we have one vessel to live life through, and that's our bodies. And
it, like I said earlier, it's such an amazing machine.
Yeah.
It's incredible, what it can do. And talk about perspective. I have been dealing with tendonitis in my right elbow for months now, and it's impacted my working out, and I've gotten so pissed off about it. I've bought TENS unit machines for stimulation therapy. I'm going to buy I'm going to do red light therapy at my gym, and then I had an epiphany the other day about it. I was like, you idiot, you're complaining about your elbow and it distracting you from your workout split. Where were you 7 years ago?
Yeah, perspective, man.
Yeah.
I'll be honest too. This part, if it's okay with you, I'd actually like to kind of cut some of this out and put it in, if you're okay with that. This is a whole nother podcast episode.
It is.
Yeah.
And that is something I talk about. I don't do it nearly as much as I used to, but I would go speak to groups about, it started off with just taking ownership of your health, knowing your body. Then it turned into, okay, this also applies not just to physical health, but mental health as well. And so it gets a little bit more interesting with every story.
Yes,
exactly.
It's awesome.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Well, hey, Mason, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Can you give us some good news? Any good news? Personal life, career, sport?
Well, yeah, every day that I'm able to get up and do what I enjoy is good news for me. So I try to look at things really on a day-to-day basis. So my good news for today is that later today, I'm going to go set a PR on the belt squat machine at the gym.
Darn right.
That's some good news I like to hear.
Booyah.
That's my good news for today. And then I am sure that between myself and Caleb and the rest of our team at PAMI, we're going to accomplish something great today from a work standpoint. So I try to find that great news in every day.
I love that, Mason. Well, hey, I am giddy to have you on. Thank you so much for joining me and Tyler. If people want to learn more about you or where to find you, where can folks do that?
I'm on all the typical places. I'm most active on LinkedIn. I have an Instagram account where you can see me a little sweaty with sleeveless shirts on and workouts. I have a Facebook page as well too. So feel free to find me on any of those places. And it's been truly my pleasure to join you guys today. I could talk with you about this type of stuff forever, but I really appreciate the time.
It's great. Awesome. Well, thanks again. And Tyler, if folks want to find you, where can people do that?
There's a new place to find me now.
Wow. Let's hear it.
You can find me on the Substack
All
at
right.
Tyler Got Books. Shout out to Phil Got Books, by the way, for the name inspo. But Tyler Got Books. I'm going to be doing some book reviews. We'll see
That's
how it
very
goes.
Tyler. It's very Tyler.
So yeah, in addition to LinkedIn, I'm now on Substack. Caleb, rumor has it that you're also on Substack.
I am.
Is
You
that
can
somewhere people can find you?
That is, you can find me at Caleb Talks Tourism on Substack. We're going to be talking about travel tourism, hot takes, friendship economy. If you want to learn more about that, you can find me there. I'm also on LinkedIn. And of course, I work for Paradise Advertising and Marketing. You can find me there at csullivan at paradiseadv.com. And this has been some good news.